Hello there, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for being with me today. I hope you're well and excited about getting back into Volcano Bay. So this is our new Planet Zoo series where I'm creating a modern zoo, a billionaire's playground I suppose you could call it. So brand new zoo, lots of money thrown at it, big over the top grand structures and habitats and things. All based in a pre-landscaped park with a large, what I think looks like a big dormant volcano over here. So that's why it's Volcano Bay. It doesn't have a bay yet, but there is going to be one. Probably, I'm thinking probably in this area here. I'll create some sort of big fake bay. Oh, excuse my dodgy camera work. So anyway, this is episode 2. So episode 1, I built this building. Now this building doesn't really do a lot, but I had a lot of fun making it. I think it looks really nice. I'm very happy with how it all turned out. Yeah, it was just sort of the initial bit of inspiration for the whole zoo. Really, was that I just wanted to build this this modern building, lots of glass and yeah, modern sort of design over here, sort of the blocky stuff. That's a very modern thing, isn't it? Lots of wood, and I don't know, I just had an idea and I wanted to build it, and then that's sort of given me the inspiration to do the rest of the zoo. But obviously I need to sort out the entrance. At the moment I just stuck this big bit of path in. I was trying to get inspiration. Took me a little while, but obviously this doesn't stay anything like this. But at the time I wasn't really too sure what I was going to do between this building and this entrance. So that is what today's episode is going to be about, and if you looked at the thumbnail you'll get a rough idea of what it ends up looking like. But I'm going to talk you through the process and explain roughly what I had in mind. My basic thinking at the start was that I wanted some water over here, so some sort of lake. And I wanted something in the middle here. I wanted some sort of structure, and obviously a sign saying, you know, welcome to Volcano Bay or something like that. But something really nice and big in the middle, but I didn't want it to block the view of this building. So yeah, you'll see what I've come up with, and I think it looks really cool. So let's move on, shall we? Let me load up my first save point, and we'll see what I started on. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to do was get the structure of the water in over here. So I wanted to make it quite an impressive looking lake. I also had the idea that at some point I might want to put animals into the lake, so I made sure I had this little sort of sheltered area over here. Not sheltered, what am I trying to say? Shallow area where animals could potentially get in and out. The rest of it's quite steep sided, although it doesn't really stay like that. It gets covered up with rocks and things. And over here you'll see that I've started work on a sort of a retaining wall. I wanted this to look quite grand. So the first thing I did obviously was get rid of all the big pathway that was in here and build a path right along the edge here, and then connect it in over here. And then I wanted to kind of seal this off so it looked all complete and joined together. So I just created a template here for very basic walls. This is just some wall pieces, the big lion head, and then these little brick pieces. I absolutely love these concrete wall, what's it, concrete wall quan? I have no idea what that word is, but yeah, brick pieces, there we go. I think they look absolutely fantastic on this sort of thing. They make it look really posh as well, really smart. So so that's all I've done. I've just created that template, and then I just copy and paste, and that is going to go all the way around this area up to here, and then there's going to be rock work covering up all of this all the way around this edge here and this side over here. The water itself, I'm basically going to leave it as it is. There's going to be a few plants here and there. Now if you've watched any of my other series, you'll know that in the past where I've done lakes, I've often covered the lake bed with lots of grasses and those what are those little panels called? I always forget these. They're my favourite piece in the game. You'll know that if you've watched my other videos. These pieces, the planted wooden panels, because these do look really good. Having like the floor of the big water areas covered with stuff like that, and then rotten logs and all that sort of thing. But the problem with that is that it very quickly fills your park up with an awful lot of polygons. And the game just starts lagging and it gets slower to load. So I'm not going to be doing that in this zoo, because I really want this zoo to fill out and and fill the whole map. I want it to be big and expand over the whole area. So I don't want to fill it up with lots of unnecessary items. That's my theory anyway. Whether it'll work or not, I don't know. But you know, you don't need to have this super detailed under here. I do put some rocks and stuff in, and a few sort of reeds and stuff like that. But it's not as quite as detailed as I've done in other zoos. So just a bit of a warning there of my basic sort of my thinking behind this zoo, because in the past all of my other zoos, if you look at them, apart from my safari park actually, if you check that series out, that did take up the whole map, but that led to all sorts of other issues as well, with very large traversable areas for the animals. So I'm going to try and avoid that in this zoo. So it's going to be big, but I'm not going to have too many massive habitats. Hopefully that's the plan anyway. So there we go. So yes, so this was my plan along this wall, was to have these. I think I actually put a fountain in, so they're all spitting water out as well, which looks really cool. So this is the sort of look I'm going for. You know, this sort of thing isn't cheap, but if you had billions of pounds to spend, this is the sort of thing you would do. And I think it looks really nice in the end, actually. I put all sorts of cool fountains and stuff on there as well. But yeah, we'll get to that in just a minute, shall we? Right, so let me load up my next save point and see what I did next. Okay, so just a brief update in this cut. So basically the wall is in, so that's as far as I'm taking the wall here. I think that looks really nice. It all blends together nicely. I put the fountains into their mouths as well, so they're all spitting water out into the lake. I think that looks really cool. And then along the top at the moment, I wanted these pieces. Again, I can't remember what these are called. A balustrade. Yes, I have heard that word before. But these look really nice. Again, very expensive, so you wouldn't really find these in any normal zoos. But they look absolutely fantastic. So I put them all the way along the top here. Now obviously the problem you have with things like this is that they don't join together very well. So immediately I knew I was going to have to do something on each of these gaps to cover this up. But it kind of gave me an opportunity, and that's how I view this game when I'm building. When you come up against an issue like that, where something isn't quite blending together, you have to come up with a solution. And I don't see it as a problem, I see it as an opportunity. So it forces you to be creative and to come up with new and interesting things and ideas. So that's what I took it as. And so I had the idea that I would put in some kind of a pillar on each of these joins that went right down to the ground, up to here, and then would have some kind of a fountain on top. So that's what I needed to create next. So there we go. So that is our lion head wall. And I will load up my next save point, where I think it's I probably do these pillars next. Let's take a look. Well, there you have it. This is what I created. So I did this as a blueprint. Very simple. Just use these lovely non-gridded breeze block pieces. And then more of these brick quans or whatever they are down the side. And then to make this top piece, I found these, the decorative limestone, whatever that says, bracket. I thought they would look good as corner pieces. And then I had these, what are these ones? Limestone slabs. And I've just sort of copied and pasted them around to make this this edge and this flat top piece. Then I'll just use a couple of fountain pieces. So I've got that jug thing there, sort of a fountain base, and then you've got the large fountain that goes right the way through it, and then you have a smaller fountain at the top there, and obviously a water spout as well. And it works really well. I love doing these things because there's so many different combinations of these different fountain pieces that you can put together. And it kind of, you know, I love doing this sort of thing where you have one just sitting right inside the other one. It just makes it all look like one big solid piece. And obviously it shows that with fountains you don't have to have the bigger piece at the bottom. That can look good, but I was just experimenting having a smaller one there, then a big one, and then a smaller one again. And I think it looks okay. Yes, I know the water kind of falls down through it. but you know, you can get away with that with a water fountain, I think. And then I just obviously just copied and pasted that all the way along here, turned it appropriately so it matched the shape of the wall. And I think that looks amazing. I mean, it's so over the top. You'd never have this in a normal zoo, certainly not in England anyway. But that's the kind of look I'm going for in this zoo. Just big, brash and in your face. Look, we've got a lot of money and this is what we've done with it, kind of thing. And I think that looks really nice. And obviously the people can walk up to here, so they can't get quite up to the edge. That's always the problem with this game, is when you landscape and then when you have a pathway, it's very hard to blend things together because you can't have the paths going right up to the edge of the land. So it's kind of tricky at times, but you just have to do the best you can. So yeah, there we go. So that's looking good. And then I've done the rock work as well. So again here, I just created a little blueprint. So that was it. Just some Taiga rocks arranged in an interesting way. And then you just copy paste, turn them around, sort of, you know, blend them together, put them inside each other and that, and just keep on creating a wall. And it doesn't look repeated. If you keep turning them and moving them, it doesn't look like you've repeated a pattern along there. And then again the same just over on this side as well. Now obviously these do get a little bit of decoration at some point in the future. I think in the next episode, in fact, you'll see a bit more work done around this lake. But that was basically it for the lake for now. Of course, once I got to this stage, I immediately knew I was going to put an animal into this lake. So that is what happened. So episode 3 of this series is going to contain our first animal, and it's going to go into this lake. No, I won't tell you what it is. You'll have to wait and see. You can probably guess. You know, I might have even mentioned it in the first episode, to be honest. I can't remember because I did record, or I have built the first 3 episodes before I recorded the first one. So you'll probably find I might have spoiled it already in the first one. I can't remember. But anyway, that was my lake work. So that was done, and I was very happy with how that looked. But I still needed an idea for what to do in the middle here. I wanted a structure. I wanted some pathways, a bit of garden work as well. And it went through a few iterations. I can't remember what I've got recorded and what I haven't, so I'm just going to have to load up my next save point and see where I was in the development of it. You may find suddenly some new bits of building appear over here, because I'm sure I came up with a few ideas that didn't quite work out, but I might have saved them over there. I can't quite remember, to be honest. It's been a little while since I've done this. So let me load up the next point anyway and see where I went next. Okay, we do have our globe in place. You can see, obviously, I have saved a non-adjusted version of this globe over here. And then I've just copied it over here, and this is when I started putting some ivy growing on it, because I thought it looked kind of cool having ivy growing on it. So yeah, so this is what I came up with as my structure. So this is a very simple thing to build. It's with these iron girder pieces, and I just created one thing. I used the angle snap to get it exactly right. So I kind of created one side and then just duplicated it around. And then you copy it round in a circle, and this is what you create. So it was pretty straightforward. And then I've gone around and put ivy growing on it as well, kind of sunk it a little bit into the ground, because at this time I wasn't really sure what I was doing. I knew I wanted something inside it, but I wasn't too sure what. But the main point of this was that I could have it down here, you see, and as you walk in, it's not completely blocking your view of this lovely building over here. I think it does move over, so it's more in the middle actually, I think. I can't quite remember, to be honest. But yeah, so that's what I came up with, and it's yeah, it's cool. I like it. It's something a bit different, isn't it? Again, it's incredibly daft and over the top. It doesn't serve a purpose. It's just the sort of thing that if you had infinite money and resources, that you might build. Why not? I think it looks really cool. I've also just done a little bit of path work over here. Oh, look at that! Actually, I have decorated the lake in this cut. I thought I waited until I put animals in here to do this, but obviously not. So yeah, some basic greenery, some little bits of hedge here and there just scattered around on the rocks. And then I went with these conifers because they're really smart looking trees, all these conifers. So some of those scattered around there, and then the same over here as well. Just varying it up, just keeping the heights different. Again, just using a few of these basic shrubs down on the rocks here. Yeah, I love these conifers. They look smart. Conifers are associated with Italy, aren't they? And architecture in Italy is a big thing, and they use these conifers almost like part of buildings, sort of is part of the architecture. So generally, when you put them in, they make a place look incredibly smart and posh and expensive, which is the look obviously that I'm going for. So that's yeah, that was all done. I then just did an extra little bit of rock work here. Put the pathway in, sort of created this little intersection bit here, and then just put in a little bit of rock work in here as well. This does change actually over here, because in the end I put some buildings back here where the you know, all your staff facilities go. So I do actually move these rocks and create a little tunnelway through to there. That might actually be in this episode. I can't quite remember how much I do in this episode, and whether that's in this one or that might be in the next one. I'm not too sure. But yeah, so that's our globe. Really happy with that. It does change. It does get something put in the middle of it. But yeah, that was a pretty fun structure to build. Pretty straightforward. It didn't take a lot of time, but I think it looks really cool. So there we go. Right, let's move on, shall we, and see what I did next. So here is my first effort of what to do with this thing. So I had the idea of raising it up on rocks and making a sort of a support structure at the bottom here, and then having some pathways around it. So I put in the pathway, so a nice big pathway around, meeting up again over to this main building here, and then I wanted to put these smaller pathways in here, kind of winding through, and then with the idea of creating some gardens all around it, which is basically how it does end up. However, this changes. In the end, I didn't like these rocks. Just doesn't quite work for me. It looks a little bit, I don't know, a little bit feeble maybe at the bottom. I don't know. Either way, it ends up being much better, because it kind of gave me a bit of inspiration actually for what I could put in here. I made the pathways through here this bark chipped, so that it emphasizes the difference between the main path and that. And again, when I come to do the gardens in here, I wanted to keep it very flat. I didn't want trees kind of really sticking up and blocking the views. I mean, as you walk in here, you've got these lovely fountains. This just looks lovely with these conifers and then these fountains. This is exactly the kind of look that I want. It looks grand, doesn't it? It looks impressive. And obviously you get the hint of this building in the background here, and as you come around the corner here, you'd see it in all its glory. And eventually there'll be other things that you can see through the middle and sort of behind it here as well. So yeah, it's looking good so far, but I wasn't happy with this, basically. I was just playing around and trying to come up with different ideas, and that was my first one. So I wanted you to see that. I have no idea what I did next, but I'll load up the next save point, and we'll take a look. Right, at this point, I still hadn't come up with a better idea for the rocks in the middle here, but I have done work on the gardens. So this is the, I always forget what this one's called. This is the arrowwood bush, and then I've used that in the middle because it's quite a slightly taller flat plant, if you can have a tall flat plant, and then around the edge I use the bearberry bush, and it kind of highlights them really nicely. So you've got the contrast of the light colour and the dark colour, and so that just fills in all these gaps basically. You can see I put a few benches in as well. It's just strategically placed around, a couple of bins, and then I did want some trees, not too much, just a couple. So I went with these lovely bronze, what are they, the river bush willow tree. I thought the colour of these would contrast the greens down here really nicely, but again I placed them in such a way here that you still can you still see the glass side of this awesome building back here. I really didn't want to block that bit of the view there. Didn't mind this one here blocking a little bit at the end of the fountain area, because you still got these fountains close by, so as soon as you walk in you still get that lovely impression of water being over here. And then as you would walk around this side of the building, you see you just get a little glimpse through here. Obviously the graphics are glitching a little bit, but if this was real, you'd get these animal signs just looking at you through that gap, and you get a different angled view of the glass there. And then as you came around, you can see the animal signs there, and this modern look. You know, the more I think about these animal signs, the more I love what I did with them. I'm really proud of myself. I like that, I really do. Anyway, sorry, I'm patting myself on the back way too much there. So yeah, so that was my garden idea. I also just filled in some gaps over here, so just continued the same theme. I wanted to sort of blend these two areas together, so the same two shrubs and the trees over here, and again just a few benches around this this side here, creating a small seating area. Like I say, I do change this because I use this space back here for some facility building. So these benches disappear and I create a small archway in the rocks here. But yeah, I think that looks nice, just having that sort of continued theme of gardening over there. But at this point I still wasn't happy with this rock formation in the middle, so I think that is probably what I do next, is come up with the idea, because obviously at this point, in fact, I hadn't named the zoo. I still didn't know what I was going to call it. And I think it was around now when I came up with the idea of actually using the volcano as part of the name of the zoo. So I immediately just thought, oh, Volcano Zoo? And I thought, no, that just doesn't quite sound right. And then I was playing around with different words that sound good with volcano, and I came up with Volcano Bay. I just thought that sounded cool. But obviously there isn't a bay, so I'm going to have to create that. But there is a volcano, so that's cool. But they also gave me the inspiration of what to do in the middle here. So let me load up the next save point. I suspect that is what I did next, because that's almost the entrance done now, just apart from what I finish off in here. So let me load it up and we'll take a look. And here it is. We have our mini volcano. I had a lot of fun building this. So it's pretty straightforward, really. It was just these tropical rock pieces, all put together to create a volcano-looking device, you know. And then this was a lot of fun, getting the top looking good. Yeah, I mean, it's not technically finished, but you never, obviously from down here, you're never going to see in there to see what I've done. But I've got all these special effects pieces in here. So let me just see what I've got, because there's a few different things in here. You've got falling blossom. You've got smoke burst. There's a few smoke bursts, more falling blossom. Mist. And I've coloured the mist so it's red, as you can see, because I thought that looked a bit more volcano-y. And then you've got dirt blowing as well. So you've got all this lovely... There we go. So I think those were the sort of the combination of four that I've got. So you've got all this stuff, like looks like ash blasting out of the top of the volcano. It looks lovely in red, like there's lava bubbling away in there. And then you get these occasional bursts of smoke that come out as well. And I think that looks really, really good. I was so pleased with how that turned out, actually. Obviously, it's put right in the middle here, so you've got this big globe structure attached to it. I put a few ferns, a couple of tree ferns around it as well. I was quite lucky because I built this over here somewhere and then moved it in, and it fitted perfectly in here. Around the pathways, just on both sides here, you can see it touches both of the pathways, but it doesn't. In fact, all three sides of the pathway there, but it doesn't kind of look too big. It didn't, you know, it didn't flow over the pathways. I didn't have to shrink it down or anything. I got a bit lucky there. So what I also did was remove a few of the beams from this front. So you've got three beams that stop halfway there, and they don't continue down. Obviously, that's because I put the sign on here, the Volcano Bay Zoo. And these beams would have blocked them completely and it looked terrible. So three of the beams have been removed, and you've got these floating letters. Now I'm well aware that these letters are actually floating in the air. Now this is not some sort of clever futuristic technology. My kind of thing with this is that you can have these letters like this, and then you can use the little beams or planks or something, or like those rusted rods, I think they're called, and you can make them all connected and make it look like it sort of realistic and attached to this in some way. But you know what, I just thought I tried that and it just didn't look right. So what I thought was I would just do the letters, and this is the technique that I've used before, where you just double the letters up in a different color. It makes it look a bit more 3D. And I would just leave them floating, with the idea that there are sort of see-through beams holding them all together and holding them in place, but we don't have them in the game. So do you know what? I don't care. It looks better like that than trying to make it look realistic. So that's what I've gone with. I hope you don't mind that, but it just looks so much nicer. I mean, from this distance you could easily have some sort of glass poles holding these up and you wouldn't be able to see them. So that's what I'm going with anyway, because I wanted them to look good, and I think it does. I'm really pleased with this whole volcano in the middle here. Actually, I think it looks really cool, especially all the effects coming out the top. I think that does look really nice. So yeah, pretty pleased with that, I'll be honest. My mini volcano, it's certainly something a little bit different, and again it's a little bit over the top, but I kind of like that. So right, so that's that finished. So we've got one more cut in this video. This is going to be for our little facilities building over here, so that will just finish off our entrance. But actually for this middle section for now, that's it. I do at some point in the future, I think when I do the animals that go into the lake over here, I think I do come in here and I put in some vending machines in this middle area here, because nobody was walking in here, which obviously they wouldn't because there's no reason to. But I put some vending machines in, and suddenly everyone flocks in there and starts buying all the food and drink. So yeah, not ideal, but if you want people to be actually using your pathways, you got to give them a reason to walk along them. So I do, because I do actually open the zoo. I do have people coming into the zoo soon. I think in the next episode you'll get to see that, because it's not something I usually do. I usually keep people out of the zoo, purely for lag reasons with the computer. But in this zoo, I'm taking a different approach. I want people to come in. If at some point in the future it starts lagging, then I will have to close the zoo, but we'll have to deal with that when it happens. Hopefully not. I have upgraded my computer, so it should be running much better now. In fact, it is running a lot better. I just haven't tested it with a very advanced zoo yet. But anyway, that's our little volcano entrance done. So let me just show you one more edit, or one more cut, and that will be for our facilities building over here, and then that will do it for this episode. So I will be right back with that. Right, so very simple facilities building. This does not need to be anything particularly fancy. So what I did, I just put a pathway coming through here. I've opened up the rocks and created this little tunnel, which I think looks really cool. Obviously I had to get rid of a bench, and then I moved this one back here, put some lights in as well, a little staff only sign. So you come through here and you've got, what have we got in here? We have our trade center, we have our workshop, we have our vets, and we have our quarantine. So yeah, really simple. Bricks and the asphalt roof, is it? Yeah, asphalt roof. Basic brickwork at the front here as well, just covering up the gaps in the path. This one, quite a big flower bed gone in there to cover up quite a big gap, and just a little retaining wall as well just here, keeping the areas separate. A couple of extra trees in here, so we've got some common ash trees around the back here. I wasn't too sure what might come in here eventually, but for now I just wanted to put a bit more greenery in there. And a few lights as well, just to light it up. That's one thing I am focused on in this zoo, actually, is getting the nighttime lighting looking good. So that's our facilities there. Very simple lighting. Got one light in here under the in the tunnel there. Obviously we've got these little street lamps as well, so they come around here. I've lit up our globe a little bit. It's very hard to get any lights further up here. You can't really get ones that shine up there. But these are just some little spotlights hidden down in the grass here on the in the arrowwood bushes, lighting up our volcano with a shade of red, because I thought that looked suitable for a volcano. More of the lamps all around this area, and they are along this nice pathway here, because these lamps are they're very smart looking, aren't they? So just creating a bit of a sort of a pathway of lights down here. I haven't done anything in here yet, but I do some in here, but that will be in the next episode when we put the animals in. So that's I think the lighting is looking really good. I love the green lighting inside this building over here. I think that's still looking fantastic. Right, let me just put it back to a bit of daylight. So there we go, that's our entrance done. I like that the facility building just fits in the background there. It doesn't stand out too much. I think if you were a customer, if you were wandering in here, you'd have a brief look there through the tunnel. You'd see there's nothing interesting, but you don't really see the building, which is how it should be, I think, in a zoo. You're going to be focused on the cool stuff, which is all of this stuff over here. And wandering through the gardens and seeing what this building is, and yeah, it's just it's come together nicely. So that's our entrance all done. I have no idea what I'm doing over on the left yet. That may be more sort of entrancey type stuff, or I don't know. I want some sort of big impressive buildings, so I had the idea of doing some sort of big curved building here. Not sure what sort of building. I do want my buildings to have a purpose and a reason for being there. I don't want to just build buildings for the sake of it, but we'll have to see. Yeah, until inspiration hits me. And like I said before, I won't be building this park from here outwards. I'm going to move around and build wherever I fancy building at the time, and then sort of connect things up with temporary pathways before eventually filling in the gaps, kind of thing. So I will tell you, our next episode is the lake here, because I did want to get an animal in. I know this is 2 episodes now without any animals, so it's not really a zoo yet, is it? But yeah, so I wanted an animal in here. So that is going to be our next episode. So that's I had a lot of fun with that. There's a lovely building that comes in back here. We've got the entrance sort of behind these rocks here, and then just a little bit of basic work around the lake as well. So that's our next episode, and I'm currently working on our 4th episode, which is our big project, which is the volcano. And I'm having so much fun building this. I'm not going to spoil it, but basically this becomes a habitat. This entire empty volcano crater, and it's epic. I can tell you, it's going to be a long episode, this one, because it's a big build. And I love actually how this has been created. Look, you've got these little tunnels that I discovered. I can't even see where this is going. It's so dark in here, but look, it does go. No, I'm completely lost. I can't get out. Well, I wanted to show you where the tunnels go, but basically there are 3 big tunnels that have been artificially created here. See, there's one there as well, and they actually do go. Whoops, you got one there, and you got one there. They all link together. They actually go right through the mountain and out the other side, and then I think somewhere there's no, I've got lost now. There we go. There's another entrance there. So there's 6 entrances basically. You've got 3 massive tunnels that go through. So I use them as part of the habitat that I'm building in here, which is very cool. Yeah. So anyway, I'm not going to tell you any more about that. I'm still in the middle of building that one, but I have done our first habitat, which is over here. So that will be our next episode. I'm not going to tell you what's in there unless I've spoiled it already in the first episode, which I seem to recall I may well have done, but anyway, you'll have to watch that to find out. Right, so that is going to be it for today. I'm having a lot of fun in this, so I do hope you are too. If you are enjoying the episodes, then please do hit the like button for me. That really helps out the channel. And I'll be back in the next episode with our first animal. Until then, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I do hope you've had fun. I certainly have. And I will see you again very soon. Until then, take care. Bye for now.